This is Vam Electric Ghost. In this episode, Peg talks to UK visual artist and singer-songwriter Rachel Mayfield. So I wanted to give a little preface about Rachel Mayfield from her website. So I'm going to read her bio. So Rachel Mayfield started releasing music in the 1990s when she formed and fronted indie rock band Delicious Monster. The band released one album, Joy de Vivre. If I said that right, sorry, I'm not French. And 4 EPs receiving critical acclaim and chart success. Following that, Rachel traveled to live in Amsterdam and recorded an album, Transports of Delight, with Delicious Monster co-founder and guitarist, musician, and fine artist Joseph Stokes. This album went on to win Album of the Decade on the American Woman's Radio and was re-released on Iron Man Records label in March 2018. After extensive touring of this work, the two parted ways to concentrate on solo projects and began adapting to new ways of constructing music and art projects. Rachel took a break from public life for several years, but continued to create anonymously under the name Magic for No Reason. And she designed and convened creative self-esteem and well-being projects for homeless people experiencing mental health issues in London, UK. During this time, she released an EP titled Fear is the Enemy to raise funds for the Upbeat Music charity label, whose patrons are the rock band Coldplay. She also recorded with the cult band Gallon Drunk on albums Black Milk and Bear Me Away. Her song Expectations was also featured in British independent film Nice Guy. Following this, she began writing and performing and recording a new selection of work based on subjects of perception and separation. The first element of this was titled Pushing Me into the Fantastic and was debuted at the Swiss Cottage Library and Art Gallery in London, UK. This piece was a combination of narrative photography and live performance and was her first step into conceptual art. Rachel then continued to write music and make short films for her first music solo project titled Winter of Desire. It had a limited first run release on CD through the Pure Savage Music label, a collective enterprise record label that was formed by the management and band members of Delicious Monster in the 90s. The album was well received and enjoyed a re-release of new recordings on Iron Man Records label in 2017. After touring Winter of Desire in Ireland, Rachel began to develop her next season of work titled Venture of Belief, based on themes of discovery and sensation. She produced and directed a series of poetry films for this collection, one of which that was then featured as the part of the Poetry Film Paradox at the British Film Institute Love Season and Flat Pack Film Festival. In 2016, Rachel moved back to her hometown to begin a new season of work titled Truth to Material, based on subjects of belonging, memory, and displacement. This work is currently running on the weekly radio show installation on www.brumradio.com, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. GMT. This collection also includes her first short feature film and albums of songs of the same name due for release in 2020. To hear more of her music and view films and read excerpts of this work while supporting and further development of the collections, visit www.patreon.com/Rachel Mayfield. Again, that's visit www.patreon.com/Rachel Mayfield. And now you can listen to the interview that Family Ghost did with her today. And please support Rachel on all of her social media, which we've included on this broadcast. Thank you very much, and continue to listen to Phantom Electric Ghost. Hello, this is Phantom Electric Ghost. So we have Rachel Mayfield on the line.
Hey, we do have Rachel Mayfield on the line. Hello.
Are you in London?
I am currently in Birmingham today.
Okay, that's great. So just to give a little preface, I interview indie artists from around the world. Been
Fantastic.
doing it for about 2 years on Anchor FM. We don't charge anybody. We like to just be able to talk to other musicians. I'm a musician myself, and we just want to be able to give people a platform to discuss their music and their projects and their process. So I had found you on Instagram, and I started to dive deeper into your catalog, and I was reading your website, and you had been in the 1990 indie band, Delicious Monster.
Exactly.
I found a bunch of the videos from your band on YouTube. I couldn't find your records like on any of the streaming services for that band. I did find your latest album on Spotify.
Excellent.
Winter of Desire.
That's correct.
I've been listening to that.
Great.
That was released in like 2017, right?
That's correct. Yes, October 2017.
And do you have like a Patreon site?
I have, yeah. I set it up around a month ago, and yeah, I think it's the way forward.
That's cool.
Cool.
And then you also have like a radio show, right? That you're doing.
I do. I have a weekly alternative indie arts and culture show on alternative radio station here in Birmingham, UK.
And you're working on like a new album called Truth to Material. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, really good research you've done. Thank you.
Well, I try to do my work, because I'm a musician. I want to give people their due.
Thank you. Thank you.
So maybe we can talk about, like, I don't know if you want to go back to your first band or you want to talk about your current work. You can make the choice.
Well, I mean, I'd like both. As long as one's not, talks about more than the other, I'm happy. So
so maybe we can kind of talk about when you got into the business, and maybe that was before Delicious Monster. Maybe you can talk about like what we tend to talk about is like how you got into music,
sure.
What your inspirations are. So if you maybe want to give a background how you first got into it, and then maybe your first band.
Absolutely, yeah. I just is this? I've got slight echo and repeat. Is that okay? Is this going out live or?
No, it doesn't go out live. Maybe just turn down your phone so it doesn't echo. Maybe make sure you're not playing it in any kind of device.
Oh, brilliant!
With a speaker.
No, it might. We might get a text or a phone call while we're chatting on my phone, but we just have to carry on. That's great that it's not live. I'm really happy. Helps things a bit.
Yeah, we record it and then we put it into segments. If we get cut off, we can divide it up into segments.
Oh, that's so great. What's your name?
My name is Keith.
Keith
Gittins Jones. I go by the name Phantom Electric Ghost.
Fantastic. I love that name.
That's my stage name.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I'm a indie producer, electronic musician. I actually play like Moogs and Rolands, like real synths. Not to put down soft synths, but I play. I play hardware synths. And,
wonderful.
It's kind of a lost art sometimes, but
yes. Do you produce other bands, or is it that just for your own music?
I have my own band, but I'm actually I've collaborated with a lot of different people. I collaborated with this artist in California named All Control K.
Yeah.
I actually have been working on some collaborations this year. I don't want to mention the name yet because we're not done with it.
I understand.
I had played with a band in New York City. So yeah, I collaborate, I produce, and I do a lot of my own music. I just got a record contract with Bentley Records out in New York City.
Oh,
and
gorgeous!
I have a song coming out on Mojo Heads on April 12th.
Excellent! I'm really looking forward to it. Please keep me informed of your music as well. I can play it on my show and just for my own pleasure as well. Yeah.
That's cool. Thank you. Well, so hopefully it will sound good, but I got a little bit of a cold, so my voice is not great as it was normally, but it's a little better than it was last week.
Good. I'm glad you're on the mend. I do understand. Yeah, we've all had it. Cool.
Yeah. So maybe you get into your whole history with Delicious Monster.
Yeah, I'd love to. I guess. Well, I met the guitarist from Delicious Monster at school. He was a few years above me in school, and we separated. He left school before me. We kind of separated for a couple of years. And then we were introduced to each other again through a mutual friend. And it turned out we'd both been heavily sort of working on developing our own music skills in that time apart. I mean, I started writing poetry and lyrics and taught myself to play the guitar really early on, like 9 years old or something. So, when we got back together after leaving school, we realised we had the same sort of madness, the enthusiasm that just there's nothing else is important, as and that was a great start. That's where we started rehearsing together.
So, what were your influences when you got into music? Like, who did you look up to? Who did you want to emulate, or were you inspired by?
It's a great question, but it's not one I can answer that easily, because I had a combination of my father's record collection, my brother's record collection, and my mom's record collection to listen to as when I was growing up. So my brother was into ska and that kind of music, ska punk, and my dad was also a jazz singer, and he was listening to a lot of big band jazz and experimental jazz, and but my mom he was a lot younger than my dad, listened to like ballads, like Carpenters, and this kind of
All
thing.
good stuff. Yes, great
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, really good, like really powerful female singers, and powerful singers, and I was completely eclectic. So I'm a sort of I became a sort of hybrid of a eclectic balladesque, with feeling. I mean, to me, I knew that whatever I did, it had to move me in some way. But
Yeah,
then, yeah.
I was kind of wondering because a lot of times you get singers and you get musicians, but they play in a cover band,
Oh,
and
I
so
know. Yeah.
yeah, so you're wondering like what makes the difference between a musician that is a studio musician, or a musician that plays in an orchestra, or a musician that's a cover band, and a
Great.
musician that
Yeah.
actually is a singer songwriter, has their own vision. So like
Yes.
all those
Yes.
that eclectic background seems to maybe have inspired you to like pull out your poetry and turn it into music, or
Oh yeah,
combination.
I've been asked the question, why did I start to write lyrics? And it wasn't a thing or an event, it was a feeling. I had a sense of separation. I didn't, I felt separate from those around me and sort of my environment. I felt sort of, and like the observer, if you were, kind of looking out to the world. And it was just a natural progression for me to write that out, to start writing that out into using words. And of course, there was an unloved guitar in the house, so I was curious to
Yeah.
and then the two sort of married. And when, if I hadn't got anyone to talk to per se on any day, I felt like I was talking to everyone when I picked up the guitar and sang those words. There was kind of a third mind, or another element.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a poet. I actually started writing
Wow.
poetry in high school, and then I got into synthesizers, and I got into Jupiter 8s and Prophets, and I'm at like 51, and so
Gosh.
I was like in the new wave, new romantic era. I was like very enthralled with synthesizers, but then I was writing poetry, and I never thought I could actually sing.
Yeah.
So I just wrote poetry, and then I did instrumentals, and then one day I got a vocoder from Roland, and I decided that I could actually sing. And I had a strange thing happen is I actually play a female character in my band named Josephine Electric. And I
Wow.
found I was never confident with my male voice, so I created a female persona named Josephine Electric, and then I
Amazing.
used her as the lead singer to take all this poetry I had written and turn them into songs. And so Family Electric Ghost is this idea of a band full of ghosts that has a lead singer that's a ghost named Josephine Electric, and they're all phantasms. And so that I kind of fell into it
Oh,
that way. I was very inspired by Bowie,
yeah.
the idea of having personas like Ziggy and Aladdin singing ideas like that, and Queen, and the kind of stagecraft of 70s bands that have this
Oh,
whole
okay.
idea. And so
Yeah.
it's just interesting. I find that a lot of artists, like singer songwriters, they do want to speak to people and speak to the world, and sometimes they're very insular, and then they want to talk to the whole world. I've talked to a lot of different artists that seem to have that kind of
Have
background.
you? Yeah, I mean, I love what you just said. I'm quite fascinated by the ideas of the difference between a person and a persona, and how the persona develops, and what the intention behind the persona is, and how far you can go with the persona. And I didn't automatically think I want to reach out to the world. I just felt that if I was trying to understand myself,
Yeah.
and there was, I guess, kind of an innate kind of connection to it that eventually did speak to other people. Just
I think if you find out as a poet or a writer, when a lot of writers are like, it's about self-discovery, but
yeah,
then because they're honest or they're trying to be honest, it ends up speaking to other people. Like singer-songwriters like
yeah,
Dylan
exactly.
and Springsteen, they speak to everybody
Oh,
because
totally.
they say something and then you in on it. You're like, wow, yeah, I feel that way. And so I think, and then punk music kind of brought it to even more people. That I'm a big lover of the Clash and Who's to Do and Replacements and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of all over the place myself. I mean, I'll listen to Johnny Cash, I'll listen to
Oh,
Coltrane,
yeah.
I'll
Yeah,
listen to
yeah.
Hendrix, I'll listen
Oh,
to Dylan,
great.
I'll listen
Yeah.
to Joy Division, Duran Duran.
Oh,
I
excellent.
I'm just
Excellent.
everywhere in my
Yeah.
music. I'm just like pulling from everything.
Wait, just
And
prove. Sorry.
no, it's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah,
I think
it proves that.
I think I totally identify with what you're saying because I
Oh,
think a lot of
thanks.
the great artists I've listened to in the past are people that don't have any particular genre. They kind of pull
Oh.
from everything.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate you saying that. Yeah, absolutely. It just proves that it's a feel. It's like it's like a particular ingredient rather than a sound or a genre.
Yeah.
It's a particular sort of weaving, a sort of a way of weaving. I mean, I think perhaps I was quite abstract because I didn't understand, and I was, even I couldn't speak as well as I could sing. I was quite shy. My words trip up a little bit over each other, but when I came to singing and I think that's how it led to it to becoming indie music accidentally because I didn't think about the outcome or it's got to be verse, chorus, it's got to appeal to anybody. I just knew it had to feel and sound a certain way that suited my inner self, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, because those songs I was watching them on your videos and they've got a really good feel.
Great.
And mine
Thanks.
made by the Cranberries a little bit, and then you
Yeah.
have a really good indie sound. I grew up like in bands like the REM,
Oh, I love it.
Big Star, Alex Jones, Big Star, and a lot of bands that were very confessional. If even like you think
Yeah.
about Neil Young
Yeah.
and the Ditch trilogy, when he did Tonight's the Night, Time Fades Away, and On the
Feeling
Beach.
that. Oh, yes.
Yeah, he was like totally honest, and he was just being very expressive in a way that nobody really does. I mean, you get bands like Lou Reed and the Velvets, Big Star, Third, is a kind of confessional kind of album that's really bearing it all. But singer-songwriters, when you play acoustic, like your acoustic albums, you got that feeling, you got the honesty, and you can really reach people. I like that.
Oh,
I'm
thank
very
you.
much into that.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. I don't know any other way, and it's not always the easiest path. There's always an offer to be something else. When you've got a voice and you've had some successes, there are people who go, okay, do this, do that. Let's make this more commercial. And if ever I've had an opportunity to do that, I've never gone with it. And it can be a bit of a struggle, but I can live with myself. That's the main inspiration, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because there's a lot of people today. Like I'm an electronic musician, and then people just assume I'm a DJ. And they assume I'm using Pro Tools. They assume I'm doing that. I use an analog hardware workflow.
Wonderful.
I go directly to recorders with my synths. I take my Moogs and I don't put them into a DAW.
Yeah.
I actually play them track by track like I was in a recording studio because I have my own recording studio in my house.
Yes.
But everybody, like I see it, they're all on the CDJs and they're all like, oh, what's your grid set up on Pro Tools and I don't work that way because I work from like the old school way of playing everything kind of live onto the tape and then overdubbing.
Yeah.
And, maybe doing stream of consciousness. And it seems to be a rare thing today because everybody wants you to fit into this kind of DAW environment. And I find that it's very, very, people won't take risks. I found people they let the computer tell them what the beats per minute should be. They let them tell them what key it should be in. They won't make the little micro mistakes to actually make a song.
I hear you.
Because they're trying to correct everything and it doesn't sound authentic.
I hear you.
It sounds kind of like Mick music. I call it like McDonald's music.
Yeah, God, it was so yeah, absolutely.
I don't like to come down on people, but I'm like, I feel that there's some honesty in really just playing a guitar or playing a Moog or playing a modular synth and being like true to yourself and just doing what you feel,
Completely. Well,
instead of trying to be a hit.
oh, no, you can never, no, because that, yeah, absolutely. You can never sort of write, well, I mean, you can think, okay, this is going to be manufactured to this commercial audience. I mean, but I don't, it won't have the same result on an emotional level ever, I don't think. But, A Winter of Desire was recorded in a church live in a little church on a high street.
Awesome.
Yeah, you can probably hear some traffic noise coming through one of the windows, or
Well, I love that. I love it when people like actually mic the drums and
yeah.
actually play an atmosphere of live recording. I do a lot of live recordings that I bring in and then do overdubs
Do
after.
you?
Yeah, I actually do a lot of stuff where I'll do like a Facebook Live for my
Oh,
home
wow.
studio, and then I'll kind of, I have like a jazz sensibility where I like to play live, and then I'll record it, and then I'll go back and overdub, kind of like what Pete Townsend used to do when, like, if you go back and look at like Who's Next, that a lot of that was done live, and the reason it sounds so good is because it was live. It was the band playing live, and they just recorded it really well, and then they overdubbed it. But there's a lot of music, the Allman Brothers used to do that. Clapton used to do that with like Derek and the Dominoes. There's just a lot of classic, music. I think it's a little bit more authentic to do it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I've got another stage name I use. So when I'm working with electronic musicians, and I'll do that, but I won't produce it. I won't get into that for myself,
Sure.
for my own material. But I'm certainly not anti it. I understand it, but it just couldn't be me. It just wouldn't be me.
But
And
I'll take a device, like I'll take like an Akai, machine, but then I'll bring analog synths into it, and I'll actually bring my own samples of stuff I create myself, and then I'll
good.
organize it, but then I'll try to like break it. I don't try to stay in the BP. I try to like turn off the auto correction, and I'll do that to like create a structure, but then I'll take it and bring it into something else and do overdubs on it and then change it. So I'll use DAWs to have tools to create certain tracks that I want to have that are very tight, and then I'll have looser stuff on top of it. I just think it's just a way of, you can use any kind of tool that's out there, and just use it as like a palette as a musician, like an artist. You take the best capabilities of a certain tool, and you say, okay, I know what the constraints are with this thing, but then I want to kind of break it.
Yeah, I don't. You see, I'm not a music producer. I mean, I'm a songwriter. It starts with the lyric and the guitar for me. But if I'm going to take it any further than that, even though I don't work with the same musicians all the time now, I go to a producer next. I don't try and produce it myself. I'm not a producer. I know the sound I want to achieve, but I'll go to someone, because that's their art. They're brilliant at that. Like Ed Buller produced the Delicious Monster album. He did the Suede albums, and Jarvis Cocker albums, and and he did our album. It's because they're great at what they do. So, but for me, it depends on the season of the work I'm in, what sound I want to create. So, Winter of Desire, it was just me and my guitar, so it had to be just me and my guitar. I didn't want to take it any further than that, than how it is.
Yeah, well, that's cool. I mean, that goes back to like that old kind of school, like Dylan, singer songwriters, just playing guitar, even like early, like young. I always appreciate balladeers, playing on like an acoustic guitar, or somebody even doing a piano, somebody playing just a piano. And play like a Tori Amos, just playing raw piano.
Totally.
It's just, man, she does a lot of stuff where she'll bring a producer and add drums and stuff, but her just playing piano with nothing else is phenomenal.
Absolutely. I agree.
And so I've always liked to like strip things down and just do it. But because I'm a one-person band and I'm a producer, I kind of
that's amazing.
Create my own sound where
so
I sound
clever.
like 5 or 6 people.
That is so clever. No, it's just that's not the way I could. I mean, I never try and change anybody I'm working with either. So I'll cherry pick people who I know they're kind of already at what I want. So like in Birmingham, I've got my favorite. I'm living in between two cities at the moment, but when I'm living in Birmingham, which is my hometown, where I'm from, there's some great musicians here, and I know who that they're in the bands already. But they're the ones I want. You know, I want them exactly
Yeah,
as
yeah,
they are. I am
yeah.
looking for a studio for Venture of Belief, which is the next album that's coming out in the series.
Oh, that's awesome.
Before Truths to Material, so you have to watch this space and come back to me maybe when I when I found that next
Yeah, that's
stage.
awesome. Yeah, we actually, if you listen to my podcast, I've had people on like 3, 4 times where I'll,
Oh,
that guy was talking to like different artists I talked to, like Kendra Black. I've had her on like 5 times,
oh,
and we
fantastic!
actually walked through her album, The Fire, every track. So I'll actually,
Perfect.
when somebody puts out a new record, if they want to, they come on my show, and I let them talk about every track.
Oh, I
Um,
love it. It's
which
so
is kind of what
good.
I like to grow up. You know, I used to watch, like Behind the Music when MTV used to actually show videos
Yeah.
with music videos, not just like reality show.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, but yeah, I always liked documentaries where people would talk about the creation of an album. I was watching like the documentary on Rumors, like Fleetwood Mac Rumors, and I was
Oh,
watching a documentary on like Electric Ladyland from Hendrix. And I'm very interested in that, you know, because I'm
oh,
a producer. So
I am.
I
I'm
love to
ups.
hear about like how people crafted a record.
Oh, lovely.
And so when I talk to an artist, I can kind of get deep when they want to go into like why did they create an album? What's the theme? The songs, where are they coming from? Like, what were the feelings behind them? I'm really into that. So
Well, maybe you could send me a list of all the questions you'd love to ask about that process, and you'd be helping me because that's one of the things I'm putting on my Patreon site, Patreon only, is live video and tutorials and the step-by-step thing about how the song's made. Because I think generally I don't know how many people are interested in that, but I thought that'd be
yeah,
really
well,
nice to share on.
we actually have an audience about 12.9 thousand.
Oh
Um,
wow,
so we
gosh.
have actually started to build an audience of people that realize we actually talk to musicians, and
Yes, yeah.
it's actually starting. They have got some sponsors now, and it's
Oh.
actually it's getting bigger. We're in Spotify actually bought Anchor FM, so Anchor FM is part of Spotify,
Oh, oh, I
and so
see.
we're actually getting bigger all the time. So we actually have a link on our podcast goes out to Spotify, and we can actually link it back into your Instagram. So when we finish this,
Oh, that's
we actually can
amazing.
actually have a link as a highlight where somebody can click on the highlight and they can actually hear the whole episode
Oh, I'm
on
so
Spotify.
impressed. It's just
Yeah,
so
so
great.
yeah, we got like 12 other platforms that we're on. So you can listen to us on Apple,
Yeah.
Stitcher, Radio Public, like all these different platforms.
Oh, great.
Um,
I'll just keep sharing them everywhere I can then for you. I mean,
yeah,
I'd love that.
we'll send you as many links as we get because it takes a little bit for it to publish. But once
Sure.
we get the
Yeah.
links, we'll send them to you. But yeah, I love talking to artists because, in
Oh,
some cases, some of the people I've talked to, I've actually ended up collaborating with.
oh, that's good. That sounds promising.
Yeah, because I end up working with people, but it's not that I'm out there trying to find people by doing it, but I just love to talk to other musicians
Yeah, me
because
too.
in the music world, I find that finding out about somebody else's process or where they're coming from, it inspires me to write. I
Oh,
get inspired
yes.
by other musicians, and so
Completely.
when I hear somebody's music, it kind of drives me to go in a different direction
Yeah.
or continue a
Just
direction and try to refine
continue.
it.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
continue. Absolutely.
Yeah, so when you were first in your band, how did you guys like get out there? How did you actually get to the public
Yeah,
when you
good
first?
good question. Yeah, well, so Mark and I, that's the guitarist, he's changed his name to Joseph now, but we started rehearsing in rehearsal rooms in the city centre. You kind of meet people at rehearsal studios, and but that's people got to know us. We did some acoustic shows around the town. We just play anywhere, and literally the two other band members walked into our lives by
Wow,
one of the drummer was rehearsing with another band at the rehearsal studio. It's called the Venue in Birmingham, and then the bass player came to rehearse as well in another band, and they got to hear our music, and they both just said, we want to play with you because we like your music more. You know, they just really loved it. And so the four of us started rehearsing together. And then we just started doing shows after about a year. And then we did a support slot to a band called Monkey Messiah, I think. And they had a manager called John Glennon, who's still going. He runs an organisation called Jaw Dropper Management in Ireland now, I think. And he just came up to us and said, "This is great. I want to be part of this." And you know, that's what happened. I think for me, I think keep doing it. Don't stop. And if you know what you want to do and how you want to sound, people start attaching themselves to you, and let it happen. You know, and then we decided to spend our first £250 that we saved up to go into a studio and just make a demo. And it was picked up by a distribution company, and literally the whole thing cost £250. And then they picked up on it, they put it out, and it was played on Radio 1 the first day of its release. And that was unheard of. You know, that band from Birmingham that paid £250 for a demo got played on BBC Radio 1 on the first day.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was mad. It was great. And literally we were still kicking around like kids in rehearsal rooms. We had no knowledge of music industry at all. We were just, I think what I love is if having the time to rehearse, a good year's rehearsal at least before you record, you know, or working together and letting that happen organically, that sound, and grow and grow and grow. And even after the first release, it was okay. It was called Dull Dull Dull, and it's on an EP, and it was released. But we got better and better and better every time, you know. And it just went crazy after that Radio 1 play, and you know.
So how did you come up with the name Delicious Monster?
Yeah, it was my idea because I love the contrast. You know, I thought it described the sound really well. That, you know, we were soft and hard and intimate, and then heavy, and you know, we'll pull you in, we'll push you away, we'll blast you out, we'll keep you close.
Oh,
you know,
that's cool.
yeah, and it's we were the first ones to have the name, but I think there is an American Delicious Monster now as well, isn't there?
Yeah, there's like an EDM, there's an electronic band named the same.
That's really mad. It's like, Delicious Monster UK.
Yeah, I like that. I like dichotomy. I like, you know, kind of, you know, yin and yang.
Yeah.
I always like having black and white, yin and yang, you know, good and bad. I try to have a dichotomy.
Yes,
because,
absolutely.
You know,
it's an oxymoron, isn't it? Delicious Monster.
Well, duality is always interesting when you're a writer. You know, so if you try to take the dark and the light, the good and the bad, you just try to, like, you can use that as a theme, you know, when your music. And
and I think that's how I was as a person. I was growing up and I was a bit confused. You know, it hadn't always been easy along the way. So, but I did find myself to be naturally optimistic and energetic, but I had got, you know, like experiences to consider, and my mood could change. But I think when you're really receptive and perceptive, you feel things really strongly, and you know, to survive, you have to find a way to express that.
Oh yeah, do you find sometimes that as a writer, you can pull a lot of stuff that's real personal, and then you create the art, but does it ever feel like maybe you overexpose your feelings, you know, in your music, and you kind of got to protect yourself?
Oh, lovely question. Well, say Truth to Material, which is coming out after Venture of Belief. That's kind of the first. Truth to Material is kind of the first move away from my inner world to looking at the outer world. It describes moving back to a city that you've left years before, and it kind of talks, you know, I sing about skylines and atmospheres and characters they've met, and love letters from the past, and people that I meet that I knew before, and, you know, beautiful things like that, which is less emotional, more actual and descriptive and narrative in that sense. But when at Delicious Monster years, I was very much working in metaphor, so I wouldn't directly talk, you know, be personal. I wouldn't have known how, you know, I was such a baby, like, so green, so new to the world that I wouldn't have known how to go too deep. But it was an excavation of sorts. It was finding my way and using a lot of metaphor. One thing means another thing. I never feel as though I say and give away too much. If anything, I admire anyone who just gives it all, And but there's a very artful way of doing it so that it's not so self-centered that people can't identify. It needs to be universal. I need to share the idea with you rather than try and push the idea upon you. I think that's part of the art of songwriting. When I say you, I mean the listener.
Yeah. It's hard. It's kind of like that balance. If you're very confessional, you get the confessional artist that's really like pushing it. People would say Kurt Cobain was very confessional in some of what he was doing.
Yeah.
You get into some of the stuff like Eddie Vedder can get very like into himself, but everybody can kind of feel it.
Yeah.
What he's trying to say.
And I mean,
but Dylan was really good at it, because even on an album that he did that's very confessional, that has like Tangled Up in Blue and Indian Wind, it's supposed to be about his falling apart of his marriage, but there's so much allegory.
There you go.
It's hard to tell what's really true. It's very confessional in a way, but he's actually still shielding himself in the songs.
That's
with all these images that are trying to speak to a truth, but they're still kind of layered.
Yes, I think that was very much me, because I totally identify with that. Because I was still colouring in the picture myself, so I couldn't be certain of everything, and I certainly hadn't got all the answers, and I don't think I have today. But I'm an observer, and I will give you something of myself, though, absolutely, because I have to, because that's my way of connecting to you, whoever you are. I want to make that contact.
Cool. So you're doing what you call like poetry films.
That's right. Yeah, I've had to. Most of them are going to be available on my Patreon and stuff, because they're art films. So I moved into doing conceptual art as a way back into, because I think you asked a really interesting question about adapting to the new the new era of releasing music and art, and how it's all changed. It's online a lot. And I did adapt. I started doing conceptual films. That was picked up by British Film Institute, and I love working in mixed media. Yeah, it's great fun. It helps me with my music as well.
Yeah, I do a lot of experimental, like YouTube, Instagram videos. I use a lot of tools, because I'm an electronic artist. I try to make very kind of psychedelic, atmospheric, surrealistic films, or electronic video to go with my music. So if I play, I actually have a lot of visuals.
Can't wait to see it.
Well, if you go on my Instagram, you can see a lot of the videos I put together with my songs on Expansive Sound Experience. But I was kind of inspired by like Warhol with the Velvets. The whole idea of Velvet Underground was it was a visual and musical experience, and he used to have all these like films going on behind him. There was like all the psychedelic
completely
art that he used to do, and I was very inspired by that, along with the idea that Bowie had these ideas when he did like Ziggy and Aladdin Sane. He had all these ideas like for this visual representation of what he was doing. And so I always thought that that's important to try to do that, and so I actually even wear a costume.
Do you?
Yeah, I have an LED mask, like a phantom mask, and like a LED hoodie, and kind of glows in the dark, and you can't really see who I am, because the idea is I'm doing a male and a female voices, and then I have a mask, and you can't tell my sex, because I'll go do Josephine, but you can't really see that she's a girl, or can't see I'm a guy. You can't really tell.
Fantastic.
And the idea is to kind of play with that, and I was very inspired by what Bowie used to do with Ziggy. I thought that was really cool, and even Prince with the Camille. I was very inspired. So Josephine kind of came out of Camille, this idea that Prince had to do like a female version of himself. Yeah. So I did the same idea, but
So some exceptional stuff. Yeah, that's really good. I mean, I think I like to work in ideas, sort of exceptional reality rather than I don't not so much science fiction or it's avant-garde, but it's sort of a heightened reality rather than make-believe one, if you see what I mean.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So you're doing more like a stream of consciousness video kind of
yeah, well,
very art
I'm
art kind.
kind of I'm working in seasons, so there was Delicious Monster, then it was sort of Joie de Vivre was the first album,
Yeah.
and then Transports of Delight, and then Winter of Desire, and then Venture of Belief, and Truth to Material. So each season has a title, and it has like the movies to go with it, and a little novelette, and what I wear will be different. Like I'm talking to a fashion artist for all the sort of the image for Truth to Material. Like it's great. Just whatever the seasonal mood is, I elaborate on that in every way I want to.
Well,
And
it's really cool what you're doing because like you're using
thanks.
multimedia to
Yes.
push yourself out there, and you've been an artist, as an indie artist in the kind of indie rock, and then you're kind of going more into a more art, like
Yeah.
like a Warhol type of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. With
which is totally
music.
cool.
Thank
Yeah, I
you
think
so
it's like,
much. It's nice to be understood. Thanks.
well, yeah, well, I love all that stuff. I mean, I kind of grew up where I think Bowie used to say, "It's like I'm not just going to go on stage with my blue jeans because I want to give people a show."
Oh,
And
absolutely.
so he
Yeah.
used to talk about the idea of using stagecraft and using like more film and actor type of skills. And you'll
Yeah.
see like bands that become super big, like Freddie Mercury. He had that kind of actor capability.
He
He would
did.
own the stage. Bowie owned the stage.
Yes.
Prince like projected this image of the kid or image of his he would change like Bowie. He would have different costumes for different albums, and
Yes. Oh,
and every time he
yes.
presented himself, he was wearing that costume, but it wasn't like the real him. He was playing a role. Prince was playing a role just like Bowie.
Yeah, I see the roles as manifestations of different sides of our personality because it is us, but it's like this exceptional part of us or another side to us, and that
Yeah,
persona deserves an outing as much as and like each art piece is about how our perception of the world and how that can change. So
that's
or a
cool.
journey, or yeah, I
Yeah,
love
it's
it.
cool. It's cool to actually pull that out of yourself and to kind of try to make. I've always feel art has a really kind of very special place in the world, and when you
Yeah,
take your art serious and you're really trying to create something that has some kind of lasting value or it
oh yeah,
means something. And I think when an artist puts a lot of effort into what they do and they have a visual and they have a
yeah.
cohesive vision, then I think it's just very interesting compared to this kind of like candy art. That's not
Oh
bad. I mean, we just saw it in the 1950s, like bubblegum music.
yeah.
There's a place for music like that. And then there's a place for the stuff that's a little more serious or a little more refined or more thought
Yes.
put into it. And
Yes, I
and
agree. I
and
agree.
I love actually talking to the people that create that type of work.
Oh, I'm so pleased you found me. I'm so lucky.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I'm always
thanks.
looking for the artists I think that need to get paid attention to.
Oh,
That
wow.
need
It's my lucky day. I'm so happy.
well, I think that's the problem today is like that. Well, it's not a problem in some ways. We have YouTube, we've got SoundCloud, we've got this kind of Anchor FM, we've got different places that we can go out there and
Yeah.
let people know. But it's just trying to get more people to be aware of the work that's out there and the
Yes, and the
artists.
processes. That's what's so great about what you're doing is, talking to the listeners and each other about the processes. And I mean, I've spent years working on a piece with no one paying any attention to me, and I've had to endure that because I knew it would be worthwhile. But it can get a little bit lonely. So when someone like yourself goes, "Hey, Rachel, I get it. You're working in mixed media. You've adapted, in a kind of Warhol-esque way, and you're working in art." And it makes those years alone worthwhile. you know
Yeah, well, you want to be able to give props to artists and give them a place to have a forum, and that's what I've
yeah,
tried to do with this show is to basically let excuse me people know about artists that they should be listening to, that they
Thank
should be
you.
interested in. And, going out to your Patreon and supporting it, because there's a lot of people.
Yes, that would change everything. I mean, that's sure. I mean, I put music out on labels and stuff, but when you're working in other mediums, you need your
Support.
people behind you. You do.
Yeah, well, it's just after the Napster era and even the streaming era is like artists don't get paid
No.
what we used to get paid, and people sometimes think music is free, and like if
Yeah.
you want music, you have to support the artist. So
Thank
I
you.
always
Yeah.
say when I put these up, I'll put your links,
Wow.
so I'll put up your Patreon links, I'll
Oh,
put up your album
amazing.
links,
You're
so people can
amazing.
actually buy your music. And I encourage people, if you love an artist, download their work. If you love an artist,
Yeah,
buy their merch,
that's
subscribe to
right.
their channel. Don't just listen to it and say you love them, but you don't pay for anything.
That's
Not,
right.
not that you
Absolutely.
can't just listen, but if you really want to support artists, it's a craft, and you're
Yeah, and it's a
willing to pay
process. Yeah.
for athletes to go see a game. You need to pay for musicians too.
Oh, and then we can be our best, right? And we can run like athletes musically.
Yeah, well,
Absolutely.
everybody needs to understand. We don't get a magic coin.
No, we don't. And that's why I'm holding on, like I own the rights to Delicious Monster music. So, I'm going to put that through Patreon and through as gifts and, and as incentives and wait until, that people invest in me as an artist so that we can put it out on the Pure Savage label and get it redistributed. You see, I'll get more distribution if more people sign up on Patreon so we can get the Delicious Monster out on all formats and,
Oh, that's awesome.
everything I've ever done. Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
new
so
to
you're
it
gonna
though.
put it on vinyl? Are you gonna get it on vinyl?
Yeah. Well, there's an option. The more patrons I get, I'm putting everything out on vinyl. Yeah, Delicious
Yeah, I
Monster
think
included.
vinyl is a really good way, especially when you're doing mixed media. Because if you're an artist, and
Yeah.
vinyl gives you the opportunity, if you get the right package, you have posters and inserts, and a
Oh
front cover
yeah.
and a back cover, and
Exactly. All the
you
exciting
can
stuff.
you can actually really think about the design.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
and
absolutely. I've got
so
some
it's not just a
wonderful.
tiny design on a phone, and you don't actually get the feel. Because
Yeah.
I'm a child of the '70s. I bought those Led Zeppelin
Oh,
records with the little
okay.
cutouts.
Oh.
I got the Velvet Underground record with the banana that had it was a sticker, and
Yeah.
you can pull the sticker off. And
Have you
it's like,
still got them? Have you still got all
yeah,
that stuff?
oh,
Oh,
oh yeah.
amazing. Oh,
Well,
wow.
yeah, because I actually, one thing about the album format was that you would sit down and you would listen to Sgt. Pepper's all the way through.
Yeah,
Because on vinyl
exactly.
you kind of have to listen to the whole idea, and that's the thing about the album. I'm a very album oriented guy, because
Me
like
too.
I feel like it's reading a novel. When somebody
Oh,
has an
absolutely. I
album,
so agree. Yeah.
it's like reading a novel. And if somebody crafts an album really well, then you'll
Yeah.
get Tapestry, or you'll get Sgt. Pepper,
You are so right. You're
or,
so right.
or Exile on Main Street. You'll get an idea that really is consistent and it flows and it makes sense,
Yep.
or it has feeling, and you have a feeling from like Exile on Main Street. There's a feeling there. That's what
Yeah.
you get out of an album. And some of these kids today, they don't seem to understand that, because they're just picking and choosing playlists, and that's great. You kind of can go and pick what you want, but you lose what the artist was trying to convey.
Exactly. And also, no, I do agree with you. And I think it'll be more substantial and give them more pleasure if they can be sort of at least have one or two artists that they have that relationship with. They can sort of. I mean, with my work, the seasons, you can choose what mood you're in for the day.
Yeah.
So that's the idea of getting the whole collection on wonderful
Well,
formats.
I am very hopeful that I see a lot of young kids get back into vinyl, which means
Yeah.
they're actually listening to the whole thing through, and they're
Oh,
actually
yeah.
buying the record from the band. And so I do see there seems to be a movement
I think
where
there
people are
is.
buying high fidelity stereo systems again, and they want to hear good music on vinyl.
Oh, there
So,
definitely is.
yeah,
Definitely. Oh,
yeah. So
yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely. I just had a lovely someone contact me from Vienna who found one of my early vinyls in a record shop there, and they've said they've become a patron and they want me to release all the rest on vinyl. It's great because it's up to the listener. It's great. It's like you can keep telling me what you want and you can join me and
Yeah.
we can keep doing it.
Yeah, well, I think I definitely, I was looking into that Patreon, but I just got signed by a label, so I'm actually working on some stuff. But
Okay.
yeah, I still always do my own thing, even though I'm on the label. I'm working on some collabs that are like outside of my label.
That's it. That's the thing. Once the Patreon's there, you can be signed to a label and still do your own thing.
Yeah. So I might still look into that because I am doing some side things with some people, and it's cool to have alternatives.
It is because you never know who just feels like supporting you, and it's there. It's open, and I feel
Oh
I
yeah,
feel connected. Like to have my own. It's great having followers on social media, but to have Patreon that they're your real hardcore fans. They're the ones that, or friends, or whatever you want to call them. They're the ones who are gonna tell you what they think of each move you're making and
yeah. I think
go
it's
through it
good to
with
have
you.
that kind of feedback, having hardcore fans, and
Yeah.
having control of that, compared to having some other organization control it, like you control it. It's good to have the
Sure,
artist in
at least a
control.
part of it. Yeah, at least a part of it. I mean,
Yeah,
I am talking to a couple of labels now for Truth to Material, and I am interested in getting a signing for that because obviously I want to do a really good studio recording. So, yeah, but I'll always keep my Patreon. Absolutely.
yeah. I'm working with some recording engineers. I mean, I do a lot of stuff myself, but I'm actually using recording engineers to actually take my stuff from my studio and then
Wow.
re-engineer it. So I got like a deal where I can get unlimited like mastering. So
That's
that's
so
kind of cool.
great. I'm
Why
so
I'm
happy
kind of
for you.
crazy. I write like 5 songs a week.
Really?
Yeah, I have a home recording studio and I got my modes and my analog gear and I just write all the time.
And what's
And
it like where you live? Where do you live?
well, I live in Concord, New Hampshire, and so it's kind of out in the woods. And
Yeah, near
I got
to what's nearest? What state is that? Near New York or?
well, New Hampshire is near Massachusetts,
Oh wow,
so it's kind of out in the woods. But
great.
it is a really nice area, and you can kind of have a clear head. So I'm
Yeah.
actually thinking of building a recording studio out here near a lake region, and take it out of my house and actually make a separate one to try to
Wow.
get people who want to get away from a city and get
Hmm.
into a more pastoral environment and kind of decompress compared to like recording in New York or LA. You could be
Yeah.
in a place that's a little more healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure people will take you up on that.
Yeah,
I'm
so I'm actually
sure.
working on that. But I mean, I'm working on my new record deal right now. But yeah, my long term goal is to build a studio in New
Amazing.
Hampshire and actually work with indie musicians around the world and have them come in. But that's a
Ooh,
future. That's a future thought. But I've been
it's a good
talking to a
thought.
lot of musicians, and I'm getting good rapport with them. So I'm sure if I get it built, and I've got some cool stuff like a real analog mixing console and like old analog modes and just have it pure kind of old school where
Yeah.
have a tape instead of digital. Make a tape-based studio. Make it analog. Have a lot of capabilities. So that's my idea.
It's a
Um,
great idea.
and have it away from the other ones. So it's not in New York. It's not in LA. It's in a totally different place. So I don't have a lot of competition. But yeah, so that's cool. But it's been really awesome talking to you, and I would definitely want to do a deeper dive on your projects if you want to come back.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I'd love to. I really enjoyed it. Really did.
Yeah, so this is gonna go out later tonight, and I'll send you the links, and I'll actually promote it on my
Okay.
Instagram and my Facebook
Oh,
and my Blogger and my other social media. It's gonna be on Anchor FM. It's gonna be on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, Radio Public, all these. So
well,
yeah,
thank you. Hello, America. Hello, Massachusetts. And thank you so much to you. I've really enjoyed it.
yeah, it was great. Great.
I
I
look
hope
forward
you
to.
have a great day, rest of the day or night.
Thank you. Yeah, it's lovely and sunny here. And I'll just get on with doing some more music actually now and get some stuff done. Wonderful.
Okay, well, thank you. It was great talking to you, Rachel.
You too. Take care. See
Okay,
you
bye.
soon. Bye bye.